सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Every form is constantly associated with the name, Rupa and the Nama. They are inseparables in a way. The moment you see a form, you recollect the name. And the moment somebody utters or you think of a name, the form as well as its attributes, that which the word is indicating, name is indicating, it gets reflected. So in and through our scriptures, we have these amazing treasure houses of pointers. They are called sahasranamavali or sahasranamavali stotra. Namavali is when they are ripped apart from its meter and they are aligned in one order. So they count up to 1,000 names. Sometimes, give or take, more than 1,000. Of these, the most famous are Vishnu and Lalita Sahasranama. The the Sahasranama, the Nama should indicate, point towards and take our minds to that which is the core of our own being. Sometimes we start with the mechanical enthusiasm. I know it's oxymoronish to mix these two words, that if it is mechanical, there is no enthusiasm. If it is enthusiastic, then it should not be mechanical. But there are some of us who have mastered the mechanical way of it, that we feel very enthusiastic about the mere chanting part of it. Yes, that also has its benefits, but along with the chanting, if you understand the meaning behind it, that where it is being pointed towards. So in our effort, we have seen first 172 pointers. So we have seen 18 shlokas so far. This is the fifth series or fifth of the series. I know not how many more such series it will continue into, but Hari Ichha, however long it takes. So now today we will start with the 19th of these shlokas. So repeat after me, or at least try to repeat after me. It's on page 61. Mahabuddhir Mahaviryo Mahabuddhir Mahaviryo Mahashaktir Mahadyutihi Mahashaktir Mahadyutihi Anirdeshyavapushriman Deshyavapushriman Ameyatma Mahadidhruk Yatma Mahadidhruk. In the last shloka, the pointers were Vedyo Vaidyas Sada Yogi Viraha Madhavo Madhuhu Atindriyo Mahamayo Mahotsaho Mahavalaha. Continuing with the Mahan, Mahabuddhihi, that supreme Maha, which reflects, which functions, which expresses through individual buddhi. So where can God be seen? God's counters are opened in as many forms, that many counters He has opened. So we rush all the way from here to the temples and compete with 1 billion population there and finally get in front of the Lord. How many minutes do we get there? Minutes? Seconds. By the time you close your eyes and mumble your prayers or whatever you wish to ask, you're already asked to, or you're not even asked, you're just pushed for allowing the next person to do the same. So Bhagavan said, don't worry, I understand the Kali Yuga population problem. So I open a counter right in your own intellect. Mahabuddhihi, that which is constantly trying to express through our buddhi, reflect through our, express through our buddhi. But in order that this buddhi reflects that Paramatma or expresses that Paramatma, this buddhi should be connected with Paramatma. Where is the buddhi connected right now? Everywhere else. So there are a couple of steps here to understand. In order to train ourselves to find that connection with Paramatma through our buddhi. Buddhi is the connector. It connects to that Paramatma. So how do we connect? We need to instill a certain discipline wherein we have the form of that Lord and constantly meditate on that Lord, visualize that form and try to create that image in our mind. First step. Second step, in order to connect, sometimes it takes a very powerful expression to create that impression. So we go to these famous temples which are supercharged or superpowered with various Mahatmas, various devotees and various kinds of puja and other processes being done. So going there, we tune our mind and intellect to that Paramatma, to that aspect of Paramatma. Having tuned, wherever we are, whatever we are involved in, to allow that intellect perceive that unto whom that I am working with or serving to is nothing but the form of that Sri Mahavishnu or Sri Hari or whoever be the form of the Ishtadeva of our own heart, we invoke that. Mahabuddhihi. Mahabuddhihi, the Supreme is ready to function through our intellect. But who is it that is stopping that buddhi to express that Paramatma? There is somebody else who is occupying that space. Kabir Das ji puts it very beautifully. He says, प्रेम की गली अति सांकरी जिसमें दो न समाए, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है तो मैं नहीं. It's a very beautiful piece. प्रेम की गली अति सांकरी. Sankari means something which is very congested, something which is very narrow. Usually we hear that the path of love is all encompassing, it's wide and it's great, and Kabir it goes entirely opposite. He says, no, it does not have that kind of width. It's very narrow. The path of love is very narrow. प्रेम की गली अति सांकरी. Why? जिसमें दो ना समाए. It cannot fit in more than one. There is no space for the second one. Can you give an example or something? It's very confusing. How do you say that there is no space for two? So it is very simple. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं. When I, the ego, exists, there is no scope for that Hari to exist, for that Paramatma to exist. Ab Hari hai. Now that Hari is expressing without being in any hurry. मैं नहीं. The ego is not existing. So can both the ego and Paramatma exist together? No. But the buddhi can express that Paramatma. The brilliance of that buddhi can express that Paramatma. It does not require another agency of ego to exist, trying to channelize that Paramatma. If we can know how to work on this aspect of our own identity, which is our ego. Now this ego has to be constantly scrubbed at. Therefore, Bhagavan, he is really very compassionate. He says, two tiny hands working on that huge ego will not be sufficient enough. You need good external agencies. So he sends in appropriate people to be our companions as husband, wife, children, students. All the environment is provided in such a way that there are multiple agencies, multiple hands working at reducing that identity of ego. But instead of looking at those as irritants, if we look at them as the agencies who have been sent by Paramatma himself to work on our identity. Shouldn't we be grateful? But we make that a big deal. We make that a big deal and we want to get rid of all these agencies that Paramatma has so carefully placed around us. Would you go to a doctor who does not work on your illness? You wouldn't. Now when you go ask Paramatma and he says that I am having these kinds of issues, he says, I think you are pointing at the wrong pointer. I have given you last time also this example. This lady rushes into the doctor's hospital. She says, my whole body is aching, doctor. See, here it aches, here it aches, here it aches. So the doctor takes a close look and he says, show me your hand. And he looks at that finger. He says, it is not your body aching, it is your finger which is broken. With that broken finger you touch anywhere, it will keep hurting it, you will feel that pain. So it is not the outside, it is the ego which is the one which is the problem. So Bhagavan says, you have come with your symptoms, but what you are pointing at is the wrong source of your problem. As long as that ego exists, the beauty of Paramatma to express through our self becomes an impossible task. And we have our own proofs. That day when we had a brilliant moment, as they call it in the brain wave or a brain child, you had an amazing thought, amazing concept. That moment surely must have been the moment when the ego was absent. When that ego is absent, that is when the thought, that spark of life, comes forth with brilliance in expression. Mahabuddhihi, the one who expresses, who is readily willing, who is readily available to express as our buddhi. But we focus, see, I tell you, the Gurukula system of our education was so beautiful. They were in no rush to fill the intellect with data or information. The first thing that they focused on was to connect that intellect to Paramatma. And that is why the Gayatri Mantra, what does it say? What is the last part of Gayatri Mantra? Dhiyo yonah prachodayat. O Lord, I am trying to connect to you. You are the all glowing, ever glowing, illumining. May I connect, may this buddhi connect with you so that dhiyo yonah prachodayat, so that you start expressing through this buddhi, dhi meaning buddhi, prachodayat, may you always illumine through this buddhi. And then the other information was given, because now the intellect is available. Without the intellect being available, you keep dumping lot of data into it. It doesn't make sense. You don't connect with neither Paramatma nor with the data. Dhiyo yonah prachodayat. You are the reservoir of intelligence. May I connect with you so that that intelligence flows through this intellect of mine. Mahabuddhi. Once that intellect is connected, what happens? This is beautiful shloka. The moment the intellect is connected, Mahavirya, a great possibility opens up. That potentiality which we had never seen in us, that potentiality opens up. That solution for our life, that passion in our life, that because of which I don't feel bored or mechanical or caught up in some rut. That potentiality, that solution, virya, a creative surge is recognized. And where is that? You don't need to search for that anywhere else either. Amazing fact is that each one of us, about 7 billion population, each one of us are unique. We may be looking similar, but still, yet the way we behave, the way we act, the way we are, aren't we totally different? Each one of us is different. It is that potentiality in us which makes us so different. See, Paramatma has created everybody in his own image, in his own expression, with such amazing potentiality in each one. Do we recognize our potential? Once the buddhi is connected, then we see the potential. That is why for the youth, Gurudev's slogan was to harness the dynamic spirituality. To harness the dynamic spirituality wherein that potential is there in everybody, latent in everybody. But we understand that potentiality only when that buddhi has opened up to that source. It connects to that source. So there are many of us who may be a poet, an artist, a scientist, a politician, whatever be the potential, it expresses forth with that creative surge. The human psychology is working the other way around. Because we have not identified that potential, we see what is the best thing in the market. There was this chick who wrote a beautiful email And he said, I don't know if, what do you call them, the garbage truck driver? Sanitation worker. If the sanitation worker was given this equivalent amount as much as a doctor or anybody else would have been earning, I don't know what I would have been doing. Because for most of us to become a doctor, it is not to go out there and serve. It is not because that is the calling. It is not because it would benefit a higher cause. But it is because at the end of the day, it makes a good bank statement. I don't know if the sanitation worker was given the same kind of a paycheck, would I be thinking of becoming a doctor or just being a sanitation worker? Because instead of looking at that which is the potential, we jump into things and start copying whatever is the most rewarding, and that which is also conditioned by the society that we live in. Each society has its own standards and normals of what is considered as rewarding. Lives after lives after lives we spend in this constant repetition of birth to death, not recognizing the true potential. Yes, in Vedantic terms, it's also the true potential can also be called as vasana. But that vasana is nothing but our own talent. Unless we identify it and start expressing it out, there is no way to clean that internal equipment or internal being. It's constantly